Can anyone please confirm? All right, thank you. All right, guys, this is your trainer, right? So I have industry experience of around 8 years, in which I was working on both on-prem as well as cloud solution. So right now I'm working as a senior cloud operations specialist in one of the MNC, and I have teaching experience of these technologies from I'm just teaching it from last 5 years, and I used to teach MCSA, Azure, Intunes, SCCM, and Office 365. So this is just a short introduction about my and so today we are going to discuss about MCSA, right? Where actually we will discuss what MCSA is, how it is going to help us out in our career, and as well as we will talk about Azure 104. So as you know, this is going to be the combo of both MCSA and Azure 104. All right. Because see, if you are going to learn MCSA, then obviously in near future or might be in your current organizations, you are already using Azure as your cloud technology, right? So that is why it is important for us. So first we will be able to understand about servers. We will be able to understand all the services that can be configured on the servers. So the same level of configurations can be done on cloud also. But before that, we have to understand the concept, and that concept we will understand first in MCSA, and then we are going to implement in cloud. All right. So it is a combo batch where you will learn servers and cloud. All right. So in MCSA, we will learn Active Directory, the major thing which is being used in the organization, which is Active Directory, right? Without AD, it is not possible to work in the organization. Right. So whosoever users join your organization, so first we have to create their account in our Active Directory. So once we will create their account, then only they will be able to access resources of our organization. Resources in the sense it can be printers, it can be laptops, or it can be other devices. Right. So how Active Directory can be configured from very scratch, right? So that we will learn in our MCSA classes. Okay. Then in Active Directory, we are going to implement some group policies also. Because if we want to put some kind of restrictions on the users, right, that users will not be able to um, use pen drive on their system. Use in the sense they will not be able to read the data of the pen drive. I can block it with the help of group policy. All right. Then we have multiple type of domain controllers actually. Now, what is DC? So DC is a server where you are going to host your Active Directory, right? So in that domain controller, you are going to install the feature of Active Directory domain services so that you will be able to make that server as a domain controller. And through that domain controller, you are going to manage the user account and the computers in your organization, right? So just for your idea, okay, so I am already logged into my one of the server where actually I have already configured the Active Directory, right? So that you will get some idea that how you are going to work. So just to give you an idea, so this is Hyper-V guys, right? Which is a virtualization tool. And this is also being used in the organization, right? So using virtualization, you can create multiple virtual machine inside a single hardware. Now this is one of my laptop, or it can be one of my server, right? Where actually I have configured multiple virtual machine. It can be client machine or it can be server operating system. So same way companies are working in their infrastructure. They are configuring the same in their organization, right? But Sometimes they are using Hyper-V or they are using VMware also. So it depends on the organization to company what tool they are using actually. But in our classes, I'm going to give you the idea on both the tools, right? That how you can work on Hyper-V or how you can work on VMware. All right. So for domain controller or for Active Directory, as I told, we have to configure some services on the server. All right. Now, how to configure these services that we will discuss once we will start our classes. This is just to get some idea. That's it. All right. So, as I told, whosoever user is going to join your organization, right? You have to create their account in your Active Directory so that they will be able to use the resources of your organization. Right. Same way, you are going to assign the laptop also to to the user, right? And that laptop should be the part of your domain, then only that user will be able to log in. So we have to make sure the user who wants to log in, we should create their account in our AD, as well as the laptop which we are going to assign to the user, that also be the part of our Active Directory. Then only the user will be able to log in. Right. So there are multiple server operating system, right? Like server 2016, server 2019, server 2022. Now the latest version of the operating system is server 2025, which is a latest operating system which is introduced by the Microsoft. Now, how to get this operating system? These all things I will let you know once we will start our classes. All right. So I'm going to connect this server. All right. So so it is 2025 server, right? It looks like a Windows 11 only. Okay, meanwhile it is getting logged in. Let me help you out with the diagram that what we are going to achieve here. See, so first of all, what we have to do, we have to create a domain controller. So this is going to be our DC, right? And then whatever the laptop we are going to procure in the organization, those laptop should be the part of our AD. Means this laptop, we have to join this laptop into our domain, into our Active Directory. Then only the user account will be able to log in. The employees will be able to log in into these laptops, because either laptop can be the part of work group or it can be the part of domain, right? So if it is going to be the part of work group, we will not be able to control it. As an administrator, as a system administrator, we will not be able to control it. But if we want to control, then in that case, we have to make this system as the part of our domain. Then only we will be able to control it. Whatever you want to do, let's say you want that user will not be able to change the wallpaper. User will not be able to change the network settings. So all these things can be attained once you are going to join this system into your domain. That is what the idea here. All right. Now, as soon as this system will become the part of our Active Directory, the entry of this system will be available in our DC. We will be able to verify whether this laptop is the part of our domain or not. So it is going to be visible in our domain controller, right? So let me show you. Yeah, so this is my DC, and to access Active Directory, there is a shortcut, as well as you can use the graphical method also, but I'm going with the shortcut, that is dsa.msc. Yeah, so this is the Active Directory, guys. So in computers, whatever the system is going to join your domain, you will be able to see the entry of those systems. So in real time, it can be 10,000. It can be 50,000. It depends on the company. It depends company to company, right? That how many users are there. Same way in users, I am going to create the users account. Let's say one of the user is going to join and his name is Abhishek. So I get to know that from my HR that this user, this employee is going to join our organization. So as a system administrator, it is my responsibility that I should create his account in my Active Directory so that he will be able to access other services like licenses and all those stuff. The users will be able to access like Intune license or 365 license or any other kind of license user will be able to access. But first of all, that user should be the part of our domain, then only those licenses can be applied to the users. All right. So this is going to be the logo name. And that's it. Now this user can log in onto our domain systems. In these two systems, user will be able to log in. Why? Because user is also the part of domain and as well as computer are also the part of the domain. That is why the user will be able to log in. Right? So this is the major thing that you are going to perform as a system administrator in the organizations. Along with it, we can apply multiple type of group policies. Just some examples. Let's say you want to install some software and you don't want to take the system on remote. So that software can be installed through group policy. You can install it through group policy itself. You want to apply your company's wallpaper on the desktop. You can do that. You want to install printer into thousands of your systems. You can do that with the help of group policy. Likewise, there are thousands of the policy templates that can be applied. This is just small examples. So how to perform all these operations and how real-time companies are working on it, these all things we are going to learn in our Active Directory module, AD module. All right. Then group policy, we already talked about install, configure, Active Directory domain services, group policies. Then we will talk about DNS, guys, domain naming system. So whatever the websites you are accessing on your browsers, let's say you are able to access nwkings.com. How you are able to access it? How this browser knows that it has to bring the response from live.nwkings only? That is all because DNS server is resolving your query from name to IP and IP to name, and you are able to access the websites. Might be my internet is slow, that is why it is taking time. All right. Like this. Same way, whatever website you are accessing, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you are accessing, right? How you are able to access. This is all because DNS server is resolving your query, right? And then it is getting the response from the HTTP or HTTPS, where actually the website is hosted. And that is why you are able to access website on your laptop. So how to configure a DNS server and even how to host a website. So ultimately, guys, this website is hosted on a server. So how to host this website, how to configure this website on a server. This also we are going to learn in our module, MCSA module. How to configure the load balancing of a website. Let's say there is a lot of traffic on our website, means number of users are accessing our website. So in that case, obviously the server will be overloaded. The server will not be able to respond to the query of the users. In that case, what we can do, we can configure the load balance. Means, let's say earlier this server was responding to the query of the users. Now let's say on this server only net NW Kings is hosted, right? So from this server, users are able to access the website on their laptop. But now there's a lot of request on the server. So in that case, this server will not be able to respond the query of the users. In that case, what I will do, I am going to configure one more server so that it will transfer the load to the new server and the users will be able to access the website without any issues. This is what load balancing is. Now the same concept comes in Azure also. In Azure also, we are going to learn what is load balancing, how it can be configured. But before Azure, we should be aware of the concept that how load balancing is working, how in real time load balancing is working. So this concept we will learn in MCSA, and then it will be easy for us to configure it on Azure also. So that is why MCSA is a base, guys, right? Where you will be able to clear all your concepts. So once your concepts are going to be strong, then you will be able to work on cloud also. So MCSA is always a base because multiple things which we are going to configure here, you will be able to relate in Azure also, or in any of the cloud. I'm not talking about Azure. You can relate it with AWS as well. But the foremost thing is we have to learn servers first. All right. So we will talk about DNS. Then, yeah, we have forest domain trust, how trust can be configured, AD replication, right? There are multiple type of domain controllers actually, which is PDC, primary domain controller, additional domain controller, child domain controller, read-only domain controller. So how to configure all these domain controllers, that we will discuss in our classes. Okay. So it is a practical based case. So 95% classes are based on practical, are based on labs, are based on the real-time scenarios, how companies are working, or are based on my experience, which experience I have gained from my past 8 years, right? So all the classes based on those stuff only. Wherever theoretical is needed, definitely I will help you out with theory as well. Even I'm going to provide you the PPTs, the PDF study material, right? The interview questions. So everything you're going to get it. All right. Then, yeah, maintain AD objects. This is what I was talking about. GPO templates, group policies, how group policies can be applied, software deployment group policies, account group policy. So let me give you a small example, guys, right? You all are using your internet banking, right? So whatever the password you have configured earlier, right? The same password you will not be able to use, or you will not be able to reset the same again. That is all because there is a security policy. So same way in AD also, if you want to achieve it, that user will not be able to use their previous passwords, right? We can put the restriction on them that they will not be able to use their previous passwords. All right. So these all things can be attained with the help of group policy. Then, yeah, how to take the backup? Backup is also must for any of the organization, guys, right? Because every time I can't um, um, trust on the hardware, because it might possible that there is something wrong with the hardware. So then how we will be able to run our services? So in that case also, we should have the backup solution, the disaster recovery solution, so that if something went wrong with the hardware, we will be in the position to recover the services. And those services can be recovered if you are going to take the backups. All right. So how to backup it, how to recover it, all those things we are going to learn in this module. Then we have Active Directory Certificate Services, how to make the certificate authority, CA. So guys, whatever the website you are accessing, right? So you can see the connection is secure. Why this connection is secured? That is all because there is a valid certificate applied on this website, which is making connection secured, which is making my connection encrypted, so that any hacker will not be able to analyze that what I'm doing on internet, right? So in that case, we have to create a certificate, and that certificate we have to apply on our website or on our server, wherever you want to apply, right? So once you will apply it, and then the connection is going to be secured, and you will be able to access the services without any issues, right? So it comes under certificate authority. Then DNS. Okay. Then we will talk about network services, guys, right? Which is DHCP, assigning IPs automatically to your laptops, to your network devices. You can take example of your home itself, right? You are having one, you are having a router in your home, right? And whatever the laptop or whatever the devices you are connecting to that router, those devices are getting IP from your router automatically. That is all because one DHCP scope is configured in the router, and devices are able to get those IPs, get the IP from that scope. So how to configure DHCP? Then along with DHCP, we will talk about DHCP backup server. For example, let's say my main DHCP server is down. Then obviously I should have some backup solution. So in that case, I can configure the DHCP backup failover cluster. Basically, it is called as failover DHCP, right? Then we have one more type of DHCP, which is called a DHCP relay agent. Let's say I have different type of scopes, class A, class B, class C. So I want to distribute these scopes. So in that case, I can configure the relay agent, and I can distribute the IPs to my devices. That is DHCP relay agent. All right. Then we have file server, which is majorly used in the organizations, guys, again. So in companies, if you want to store the data, right, you are not going to use pen drive, or you are not going to use external hard drive. You are going to store it on a network server. So how to configure that network server? And let's say you have multiple file servers in your organization, right? Let's say you have 10 file servers. So every time you have to access the file servers, each file server one by one. But we can make our job easy by configuring DFS, distributed file system. So what DFS will do, user is just going to access one single name, and he will be able to see all the file servers once he is going to access that single name. This is what DFS is. Means, now let's say I have multiple file servers in my company. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? And I want to access the data from these file servers. So obviously, guys, I am going to access it one by one. First I will access this one, then I will access this one, and so on, right? But what I can do, I can make the job easy. I am just going to configure one DFS, distributed file system, and I'm going to name it like whatever, like company data or data only. So now user is just going to access data, right? And he will be able to see all the file server tagged with this data. Means whatever the shared data is going to be there in these file server, user will be able to access it with the single name. This is what DFS is going to do. User is just going to type data only, right? And then with this data, user will be able to see the data which is available in these servers. There might be multiple files, right? Multiple files and folders like this. This is folder 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So physically this data is available on multiple servers. But by configuring distributed file system, he will be able to access, the user will be able to access the physical folders with a single name only. He will just type data and he will be able to see folder 1, folder 2, folder 3, folder 4, folder 5, which is physically available on individual servers. This is what DFS is. So guys, whatever the topic I'm discussing here, right? So it is being used in the organization. It is totally based on the process or the operations which companies are using. All right. So DFS, then there is type of quota also. Like let's say you have 500 GB space available on this server, and you want users will only be able to access 100 GB. So we can put the quota. We can put the limit that user will be able to access only 100 GB data, or he will be able to use only 100 GB space on from the server, right? I can put the restriction that what kind of files user will be able to upload on these file servers. I want the user will only be able to upload doc files only, .doc. Now, apart from doc, user will not be able to put any kind of data on this file server. This also comes under file server, guys. User will not be able to upload any video file, any audio file. So all those things we can block using quota management, and we have like file screening actually. So file screening, once we will apply the file screening, user will not be able to upload any other type of data in our file server. The extensions which we are going to allow, only those kind of extension or the data user will be able to upload on our file server. Now, who will be able to access file server and who will not? That also we can give the access. Who will be able to read the data and who will be able to manipulate the data? Who will be able to make the changes in the data? These things also can be performed. I want, let's say there are 10 users, right? I want 5 user will only be able to read the data. They will not be able to delete it or they will not be able to manipulate it. And rest 5 of the server, 5 of the users, they will be able to read as well as they will be able to delete or make the changes in the data. We can do that. Who is going to have the access of what extent we can put the restriction. All right. Then we have print services, guys, how to configure the print server. Okay. Then WSUS, again, the major thing, guys, patching for any of the company, right? It is the responsibility of the system administrator to install the latest patches in their devices, in their laptops, or in their servers. Why patches? To make the infrastructure secured. And hopefully you all are aware of that Microsoft used to release their patch on every second Tuesday of the month. Second Tuesday of the month, I mean to say. Right? And it is our responsibility to get those patches and to release those patches for our devices. So how to do that? That we will learn in our WSUS topic. No doubt, guys, nowadays companies are using Intunes and SCCM and other third-party tools to deploy the patches. But still, whosoever company is not using these third-party tools, they are still using WSUS. All right. Then we have WDS, Windows Deployment Services. So in company, whenever you are going to procure a new laptop, right, you are going to install an operating system onto it. Now, how you are going to install the OS? You're not going to use any bootable pen drive. You're not going to use any DVD, right? So that thing you are going to do with the help of network. Pixie boot, if you have heard of. You have to enable Pixie boot, right? And then you will be able to install Windows in your machines. It can be any Windows 10 or Windows 11. That is your choice. Now, how to do that? That we will discuss in our WDS topic, Windows Deployment Services. Then we have web infrastructure, guys. This is what I was telling you, that we will configure a web application on a server. We will host a website on our server. How to host it, how to configure a web server, how to host a website, how to configure the high availability. Okay, those are all things we are going to learn in our web services topic. We will discuss about FTP also, file transfer protocol. If let's say you want to transfer some file, let's say you are sitting in Delhi location, right, and you want to upload some data in Mumbai. Okay, so you have to make sure the data you are transferring, it should be secured. So in order to make that security, we can configure FTP. There are multiple type of things that can be done, but FTP also is one of them. So how to make a FTP server, right? And how to access it with the help of browsers or with the help of File Explorer, right? These all things we will learn in web services topic. All right. Then there are multiple type of opportunities, guys. Once you will learn these all, this is not like we have multiple topics, right? Around 40 or 44, I believe, topics are going to be there in our MCSA, right? And once you are going to learn all these things, you can apply a job for system administrator, system operations engineer, systems engineer. There are multiple type of job profiles, but all those profiles are basically related with the things which you are going to learn in MCSA. Now, any doubt, any question regarding these topics, guys? Anything you want to ask or anything, let's say if I'm missing something, just help me out with that. Okay, we have VPN also, how to configure VPN, right? How to configure network access policy, okay? How to configure a RDP connection, right? So all these things we will learn in whole MCSA. Acha, along with it, there is one more topic, guys, we are going to do, which is Entra ID, Azure AD. Because as you know, companies are moving their infra or companies are moving their services on cloud. Okay, so how to migrate the existing Active Directory to cloud? It is called as Entra ID. Earlier it was called as Azure AD, but now it is called as Entra ID. So how to move the existing Active Directory to cloud, right? This topic also we are going to discuss in MCSA. existing users, existing computers, how it can be migrated to the cloud, right? That we will see in the Azure AD or Entra ID topic actually. This is just a add-on in MCSA. All right. Now, any doubt, any question regarding MCSA, guys? Regarding server topics. Am I clear to everyone? Okay. So as I told guys, my classes are totally going to be practical classes, right? For that, we will be needing a good laptop. Along with, we have to get the virtualization tool also. So it is your choice whether you want to work on Hyper-V or you want to work on VMware, right? So how to get these all tools and how to get all these softwares, operating systems, right? So I will help you out in our first class. Okay. So this is regarding MCSA. Now, as I told, it is going to be the combo of MCSA and Azure. MCSA plus Azure. Because see guys, MCSA, we don't have the global certification. Microsoft doesn't have the global certification of MCSA. They retired it in 2020, right? So what you can do, you can get the global certification of Azure 104, which specifies that you have the knowledge of both MCSA and cloud. Because see, if you are going to apply for a cloud operations role, right? So in that case, definitely they are going to ask about MCSA also. Definitely there is going to be the interview question for MCSA as well. That is why we first focus on MCSA and then we will focus on Azure 104. And for Azure 104, right? We are going to strictly follow the topics or the syllabus provided by the Microsoft. Even I have also I have the PPTs. I have created the module wise PPTs for Azure, right? But if you want to just get an idea, then in that case you can just access Azure 104. Yeah. So here you will be able to see that what and all topics are there in Azure 104. See, first of all, manage identity and governance in Azure, configuring manage virtual networks for Azure administrator, implement and manage storage in Azure. Now, see, I talked about file service, guys, right? File server. The same thing in Azure is called as storage, right? So we will use virtualization, like we will use Hyper-V or we will use VMware. So in that case, we will create virtual network. So the same thing you can see in Azure also. So that is why I'm just trying to explain here that once we will learn MCSA, once we will get the idea on MCSA, it is easy for us to, or it is going to be easy for us to understand Azure 104. Okay. Now see, monitor and backup Azure resources. Now the backup thing we are going to discuss in MCSA, right? So the concept you will be able to understand in MCSA, and then the same thing you will be able to apply in cloud. Deploy and manage Azure compute resources, right? So in this case, so if I'll go to this thing now, identities. In this thing, you will be able to see Active Directory. See, Entra ID, Microsoft Entra ID. Compare Microsoft Entra ID and Active Directory Domain Services, guys, right? Which is Active Directory Domain Services on-prem, which I was talking about. This one is active directory domain services, ADDS. All right. And now they are comparing it with Entra ID. Now, what is the difference between it? Right? How to migrate from on-prem to cloud, right? We will discuss it in. We will see practically. Okay. Now, how to give the access to the users. Every time, guys, whenever you are going to work in the organization, right, you are not going to provide you are not going to provide the access, the full admin access to the users. Always you are going to provide the delegate control. Let's say I'm giving access to Abhishek, that he will only be able to create the user's account. Rest, he will not be able to do anything in my AD. Someone will be able to join the systems onto domain. Apart from that, he will not be able to do anything. That kind of restrictions can be applied in the AD as well as in Entra ID also, Azure AD also. Okay. So these things in Azure also, you are going to see the policy, guys. How to apply the policies, right? What and all policies, initiatives that can be taken in order to secure the resources of the organization. All right. RBAC, role-based access control, means what level of access they are going to have on your Azure portal. Let me show you, guys, just to give you one idea. Now see, let me log in on my Azure portal. See, this is the Azure portal, guys, right? Now I'm an admin of this portal. I can give the access to others also, and I have the full control on this portal. But in real time, when you're going to work in the organization, right, you are not going to give the full access to the users, because it might possible that they'll do something wrong with your resources. So in that case, always we are going to give them the access based on their experience, based on their role. Now let's say if someone is working as a developer, right, then why I should give him the access of security? He's just going to work on the development only. Now let's say someone is new in the organization and he doesn't have much knowledge on cloud. So in that case, I am just going to give him the read-only access. That user will be able to see the resources. Apart from that, he will not be able to create anything. He will not be able to delete anything.
السلام عليكم. وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله. قدومي الله وتلفن كادي 3 ساعة وقال.
All right. So this thing can be done in role-based access services, RBAC. In short, it is called as RBAC. All right. Then, yeah. So, okay, it is about identity access management. And then we have mm, compute services, virtual network, and for Azure administrator. How to create the network, how to create the subnet, what is virtual network, IP addressing, public IP, static IP, dynamic IP, private IP, right? All these things we are going to learn. Now, how to make the network secure. In that case, we can create the network security group. I can restrict that who will be able to access my virtual machine and who will not be able to, with the help of NSG. In that, I'm going to create some rules. I'm going to define some rules. Like I'm just going to allow port 3389 RDP port. All right. So this is NSG. Now, again, see, host your domain on Azure DNS. Now, DNS thing we are going to learn in MCSA. And the same thing we are learning in Azure also. So if you're going to directly jump on Azure, it would be difficult for you to understand DNS. But in MCSA, you will get the in-depth knowledge of DNS, which is going to help you out in Azure, right? How to configure VNet peering. Let's say you have different virtual network. Let's say one VNet is in India and one VNet is in UK, right? So obviously these two networks will not be able to talk to each other. So if I want to configure the communication, establish the communication, in that case, I can do it with the help of virtual network peering. We have VPN also. With the help of VPN as well, we can um, we can make the communication. We can make the secured communication. Now that is company's choice. That is, that is that these things are going to be decided by your organization, that what kind of configurations or what kind of services they want to configure. Yes, you are going to give them the idea, but the decision is going to be taken by the superiors. All right, then routes, how to configure the routing, right? This we will learn. Load balancer. Now see guys, load balancer. Now this load balancer we are going to learn in MCSA, and the same thing you can see in Azure also. So it will make your understanding, or it will be easy for you to understand this thing. Okay. Then application gateway and network watcher. It is basically infrastructure as a service, right? In this case, you can see the performance of your network, or you can see the flows, or might be you can monitor it with the help of network watcher. Okay. This is module 2, which is related to network. Same way we have okay, virtual network. Then implement and manage storage, file servers, guys, right? This thing we are going to learn in um, file servers in MCSA, and here it is called as Azure storage. There is multiple type of storage accounts that can be configured. Okay, so what and all those storage accounts, what and all these services are there, right? How you can configure the high availability for your data, backup for your data. Okay, everything we are going to learn and understand in 104. Okay, so storage, Azure, manage Azure compute resources. Yeah, so here we will talk about virtual machines, guys, right? And we will talk about virtual machine scale sets, VMSs, right? High availability of your virtual machines, app service plans, right? Azure containers, which is Kubernetes and all, right? So this thing we will going to learn in 104. Then, yeah, virtual network for Azure administrator. I think it is done. No? Huh. Now monitor and backup Azure resources, guys. The backup, the disaster recovery, the schedule, how you are going to configure the schedule, how often you want to take the backup. Either you can configure a schedule or you can take the backup manually. So it is always good to take to configure the schedule, that every day at 9 o'clock, I want that it should take the backup of my data, right? So this backup, it is available in Azure. You can configure this thing with your on-prem devices also. Let's say you have some on-prem servers, right? And you want to get the backup of those on-prem servers on Azure. So you can integrate your on-prem servers with Azure backup, and later on you can restore it whenever it is needed. All right. Then these are protection, how firewalls and all those stuff, right? As your infrastructure by using monitoring logs, how logs, let's say one of the server is taking high CPU utilization. Let's say it is reaching to 90% of CPU utilization. So in that case, how you will be aware of that, yes, the server is reaching to 90%. So in that case, we can configure the alerts, logs and alerts, right? So once the situation or once whatever the condition you are going to define is going to be true, in that case, you are going to get one trigger. You are going to get one alert on your phone, on your email ID, or you are going to get a call from Microsoft also, push notification, so that you will be aware of that yes, the utilization of this server is high and you have to take any action on it. So this backup is there in backup and alert is there in MCSA also. So 60 to 70% guys, you will be able to relate it with MCSA. So it is always good to learn MCSA first, to understand the services, to understand the concept, and then you can jump to the cloud or any of the cloud technology. You can go for AWS also. You can go for Google Cloud also. That totally depends on you. Okay. So whatever the things we have discussed so far, you are going to get interview questions based on it. You are going to get the scenario based interview questions, right? I'm going to help you out with all the study material, the soft copies I'm going to provide you. Okay, an interview question, and then if you want some help in CV, I will help you out to enhance your CV as well. So I think this is it from me for today. So if you have any doubt, any question, you may ask. And the classes, the regular classes for MCSA is going to be from 14th. You can check with the networking team and you can enroll yourself so that we can just have the regular classes. And the timing would be 8 p.m. on weekdays, guys, Monday to Friday. Now, any doubt, any question for me? All right, then. If you have any query, guys, you can put it in the chat box, right? And the team will connect with you. And as I told, from Monday itself, we are going to start our regular classes, our first class, right? Where we will discuss on the prerequisite in order to start with all the labs, right? We have to collect the prerequisite first of all, like our virtualization tool, our server operating system, how to configure a virtual machine, how to make the communication of the virtual machines, right? So once we will understand all these prerequisites, then we will configure our first lab, which is going to be Active Directory Domain Controller. Okay. Still, if you have any query, you can connect with the team and you will get the answer for it. All right, guys, this is it for today. Thanks for joining the session. I'll see you on Monday. Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend.